Welcome back, everyone, to Kerrigan and Company. So good to have you with us today. And, of course, keeping me company is Jay Allen. Jay, you know what? You were only the second person in the 71 episodes of Kerrigan and Company who has co-hosted twice.
You're kidding me.
No.
Oh, let's go.
No,
I feel
know.
special.
Well, you are special. That's why we are so glad that you're here. I said this off the top, and Jay and I said it a couple of times in that first segment. But we are chatting with three different people, Jay being one of them, and then, of course, our next guest. Who you know for other reasons, but such a passion in their life has been to be advocates and service. And Alzheimer's happens to be the thread between all three of you that we're going to meet today.
Yep, that's how we've all met.
Right, exactly.
And done beautiful things together.
Yeah, and you know, we said this is not a club that anybody really wants to be a part of, but sometimes life throws you into these situations, and thus the three of you have made the best of it.
Right.
So why don't you introduce who's here with us?
Now I'm grateful for it. Leeza Gibbons, she's experienced great loss. I remember watching her as a child with my parents growing up. My mother got to watch Leeza on TV.
Yeah.
But now I just feel like she's not a TV personality to me. She's a friend and a beautiful person. And I love how pain connects you. Yeah. And we're able to turn it into something beautiful, gorgeous, to honor others and help heal others and honor God. You know, and we share faith as well. So she's become a friend with intention, and it's such a pleasure to always see her face.
Leeza Gibbons, hello to you.
Oh my goodness, that really just touches my heart and lifts my spirit, because Jay, you're absolutely right. There are so many of us that had thought that we were the only ones, that thought we were this kind of invisible force, and then you get connected and you get strength and you get purpose. And that's not to gloss over the incredible heartache that people are facing, and the reason why Jay is out there every single day of his life, and why you guys are focused so much on how do we help those who are helping. And that's my mission in life, is to care for those who are caring, as you know.
That's so good.
Well, you know, Jay and I were just talking about that in the last segment, Leeza, because I think, you know, when there's an initial, I don't know. Let me start with this. You know, I have been blessed enough not to have this in my life. I've certainly known people who have and who are dealing with it today. But it would seem to me that someone gets a diagnosis and it's very difficult for that individual for a certain amount of time. But then the burden becomes so much heavier on those around that person who love them and who are taking care of them. And that's where I know you personally have really seen, you know, a need.
Well, I always say at Leeza's Care Connection, where we offer hope and help and healing, and really just help people call on their courage, because what you're talking about, Kim, is this requires that you summon strength you didn't know you had. Because it's like, bam, you get smacked down, then it's bam, one more thing. So caregivers are always problem solving. They're on duty 24/7. It's one of the most anxiety producing things you can do. And yet, as society in general, we tend to think that, oh, well, they'll get used to it and it'll get better over time and they'll cope. And you know what? Yes, we do cope and we do rise, but we can't do it alone. And that's why what we're talking about today is so important, because it's very easy to lose yourself. You know, how do you hang on to yourself while you're letting go of someone you love, while you are doing anticipatory grieving every single day, saying goodbye to someone who's still there and yet they're not? I think that was probably the hardest thing for me with my mom and my grandmom, is their body was still there, but Jay so beautifully wrote about that in his song, Blank Stares. You look at their faces and you wonder, do they know me? Are they still in there? Are they in pain? What are they thinking? And at a certain point, you know, those who are forgetting will not be forgotten, but we really don't know what they're experiencing. We know what we're experiencing as the care partners, and sometimes it's tremendous devastation.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's more often than not as you move through this process. Talk a little bit about the centers, because obviously they came after your experience, because you realized that people need that kind of help. And what happens at the centers? What can people anticipate if they walk through the doors?
it's an oasis. It's a place where you can exhale knowing that in your next breath, you're going to be supported because the community are people who get it. That's the biggest thing. You know, when I was going through my journey and when anyone becomes a caregiver for someone with a chronic illness or disease of any kind, you don't know what you don't know. And you feel very alone. And while you need doctors and diagnostics and medical treatment and medical advisors, very necessary, the number one question over the years that we got was, I want someone who knows, who stood where I stand, who understands what it feels like to wake up at 3 a.m. and wonder how the heck am I going to get to tomorrow. So our communities offer like-minded people who can be shoulder to shoulder with you, and we provide free support, education, and energy. And by that, I mean, I believe you have to reveal it to heal it. And there's misplaced shame and stigma around this disease. We talk about, you know, you have diabetes or you have cancer, and we get crusades and we get, bands of people together to fight those things. We're getting there with Alzheimer's and dementia, but all too often it's kind of like, well, we'll just deal with that privately in our family. And when we tried to deal with it with my dad, my brother, my sister, and me, we all used our own limitations, our own coping skills, and we all fell apart differently. I hid behind getting over busy, because that's what I do. And my brother went into denial. My sister got depressed. And my dad was just so sad he could not leave his room for months. So we see, I created in the world what we wish we'd had when our family was falling apart. And that became Leeza's Care Connection. And while we have physical centers, our goal is to connect you virtually to either our virtual programs and support, or to help you with a warm handoff with someone in your community, or team you up with what we call a HUGS ambassador. And Jay knows about this really well. HUGS stands for Helping You Grow Strong. And these are mentors. Just like anyone who's in a program for recovery understands that you don't get there alone. And you need someone who has been there, who understands what you're facing. We team you up. There's a website where you can choose a mentor that you think gets you. And that's the person that can either talk to you by phone, by text, by email, or meet in person.
Sure, absolutely. And then ultimately you may become a mentor. Let me ask you a question, Jay. Why do you think there's a stigma associated with this? I'm going to be honest with both of you. I don't think that I ever thought of it as a disease that has a stigma. I mean, I understand that, but I haven't walked in either of your shoes, so I don't know. Why would there be a stigma associated with something that a person would have no control over?
I don't know, honestly, Can I be real? Like, it was so frustrating during COVID. Stacey's going to maybe hate that I talked about this, but seeing numbers flashing that, people are, getting COVID. If you compare those numbers to the people that are getting diagnosed with Alzheimer's every day, it's incomparable, and then it's still wild to me. 6, 7, 8 years later, I'm talking about this and people are still like, what is that? Don't just elderly people get that. It's, that would be, I think, the misconception that I would, Leeza, would you agree? Everybody thinks that you've got to be 75 and older before you're diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
I believe, Jay, you're right. Your mom was young. Now have more and more cases of people who are experiencing Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. There are many other types. And, probably 80% of them are from Alzheimer's, but they all include what I would say is losing yourself. And I think, Kim, to your point about why is there a stigma, we look at what's our soul print in the world. And at the end of our lives, what do we have? We have our memories. We have the people we loved and those who love us. Well, when those things can no longer be identified, what is there? And that gives me chill bumps even saying that, because it's the cruelest disease. And people will say, we don't know why 2/3 of the cases that are diagnosed are women. We're studying that now and trying to figure it out. But there's been decades of looking into the conundrum of the brain and the complexities of why this happens. And we're beginning to get some answers, but we just really don't know, because if we did, we'd be taking pills or getting shots or changing our
Absolutely.
lifestyle.
Right.
And I think the stigma piece is because the behaviors can be so disorienting in public, because like I know Jay had this with his mom, I did with my mom. We were at a black tie event one time at a fundraiser, and my mother was in the early stages, and I tried to stay really close to her and offer her security because crowds became disorienting for her.
Sure.
And I lost track of her for a second, and I saw her in the corner of the room, and I went, oh my gosh, my mother had taken off her gown, her
boy.
beaded gown. It was in a puddle by her ankles on the floor. She's standing there in her bra and panties.
Oh boy.
And I swooped up to her and I went, oh my gosh, Mom, let's get this back on you. And she went, why? I'm putting on my pajamas now. This party is boring and I'm ready to go home.
Let's go.
There's those bittersweet moments
Of
where it was
course.
unbearably cruel, and yet in her mind, she was just leaving. And
Of
I
course.
think that's why people don't know how to be around those
Right,
who
right,
are forgetting. They don't know how to act, and that's why I believe there's a little bit of shame and stigma.
Yeah.
I think you've told a story that really captures what the situation is, and that's certainly it.
Yep.
I want to take a second and talk about the fact that the two of you are so well known for something other than this disease, and you've used your platforms. Jay writes music. I mean, you are a face that all of America knows and loves, and you've used this platform to try to make a difference. Is it helping, and can people relate? Leeza, can people relate to you, or do they look at you and say, oh, she's a glamorous, fabulous woman. She doesn't know really what this whole thing is about?
I don't care how many resources you have, how much money you have, how smart you are, how famous you are. Alzheimer's does not care. And when
Right.
you are struck by that lightning, you are just as inept and as overwhelmed as anybody. It's an equal opportunity destroyer. And when my mother was in the beginning stages, she did an incredible thing that saved my life, really. She said to me, I was fumbling through it saying, Mom, we're going to help you. We're going to get you in a research study. We're going to find something, to make you better. And that was worthwhile, and that's always worthwhile.
Sure.
But my mother said, honey, all you have to do, you've spent your life as a reporter telling other people's stories. All you have to do is tell this story. This is your story. Make it count. And so that's what I have dedicated myself to doing. And my mother was so wise because she gave me a place to put that spinning energy, and she gave me some forward motion so that I wouldn't completely unravel. But there are a lot of people who are listening and watching us right now who know what it's like to unravel physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. This is a disease that depletes, it takes. And I believe that the caregivers, we are the healthcare system, and we are a caring culture. And we have to ask ourselves, as Americans, there's so much that divides us. This is a huge unifying experience. Everyone will either be a caregiver, need a caregiver in their lifetimes. So we got to get it together and figure out, how do we lead with compassion? How do we make things better for families? Because it's not just the diagnosed person. Their work is being affected. Their children at home are being affected. Their education is being derailed. Lives are changing in ways that we don't always recognize. And we all have to be, I think, responsible for that.
Absolutely. Any more TV coming from you?
Any more TV?
Yeah, like some big TV?
Yes. Yes, I still do the Rose Parade, which I
Yes.
love, because I think that celebrates what we're talking about, which is strength and resilience and the best
Absolutely.
of us and communities coming together. And I've been doing a show called Remarkable Women, which also celebrates women that are creating changes in their communities. And I think that if we look at people that are stepping forward and showing up, I think there's a lot of pressure in our society today to watch everybody's social platforms and look at what people are doing and going, oh my gosh, where's my place? Where's my voice? I don't have this many followers and I don't have these outlets. All we really have to do is authentically use our voice and show up with intention every day.
Yes.
And Jay, I have to say, seeing you in community, in relationship with people who need to be reminded of that is a really powerful thing. Music is that big unifier. Jay has this ability to cut through that barrier that we put up around us, and it is making such a difference. So, my friend, I know you have no plans of slowing down. I don't see it ever, but
No.
it really does. It really
I'll
does
talk up
matter a lot.
Stacy one more time. We have no plans of slowing down.
there you go.
You know, we've raised
Love
a
it.
lot of money and done a lot of good, but the race is far from over. Thank you for saying that, Leeza.
Leeza, thank you so much for being with us. What a treat this has been. I have enjoyed you through the years and all of the different things that you've done, but I think that this has endeared me to you like never before. I saw a video of you dancing with a gentleman at a prom that you guys were having, and you said he was so delightful and you're not sure that he would remember that he had been there, but in that moment, it was a great moment. And I must tell you, tears were rolling down my cheeks as I watched the video, and it was really terrific. So continued success, my friend.
And to you.
Thank you.
Moments matter, so thank you for helping to maximize them. Love you, Jay, so much.
Love you too, Leeza. So
right.
good to see you.
Leeza Gibbons, thank you very much. This
Thanks,
is
Kim.
you bet. This is Kerrigan and Company.